The stars had always been humanity's greatest dream, and its harshest reminder of fragility. On the outer edge of the Sol system, Earth's colonies in the asteroid belts were struggling. Resources were scarce, and the humans had grown skilled at survival out of sheer necessity. They were not the most powerful species in the galaxy, but they had a quality no one could teach: resilience. Captain Elena Ward stood on the bridge of the starship Aurora's Dawn, watching the dark void outside. The ship hummed with life around her, engineers, navigators, and scientists all moving with nervous energy. Their mission was unprecedented. For the first time, humans would approach the Elythrians, a species whispered about in the galactic archives. Ancient, near immortal, and aloof, the Elythrians had always treated humanity as fragile. Pity, the archives said, was their usual response. Elena had no interest in being pitied. Humanity's survival depended on making contact, not bowing before distant gods of the stars. Her crew felt the same. "Captain," said Lieutenant Rami, the communications officer, "we are entering Elythrian space. Sensors are picking up faint activity ahead." "They are observing us," Elena nodded. "Good, let them watch. It will show them we are not afraid. Prepare the formal signals. We'll announce our intentions." A few minutes later, the ship's communication systems glowed with soft light, sending messages across the void. "We come in peace. We seek dialogue. We are not asking for charity, only understanding." In the cold silence of space, the Elythrians watched. They were unlike any other species the humans had encountered. Slender, almost ethereal, their bodies shimmered in soft hues of silver and blue. Their eyes, large and reflective, conveyed ages of knowledge. Their movements were deliberate, slow, almost meditative, as though every gesture had been practiced for millennia. From their observation platform, the Elythrian leader, Valisir, studied the human ship. He had expected desperation, perhaps a plea for aid. What he saw instead was determination. Every signal, every calculation from the Aurora's Dawn showed intelligence and courage. It was unusual. Most species, when faced with overwhelming unknowns, faltered. Humans did not. "They are fragile," Valisir murmured to his council. "Yet they continue. They act with purpose even when the odds are against them." Another Elythrian, younger but equally wise, tilted her head. "They do not have our lifespans. Their technology is primitive compared to ours. Why do they not despair?" Valisir considered this. "Perhaps it is not about despair. Perhaps it is spirit, something we have long forgotten in our immortality." Meanwhile, aboard the Aurora's Dawn, humans prepared for their first visual contact. Sensors picked up the Elythrian vessels, massive and elegant, almost organic in shape. There was no aggression in their approach, only observation. Elena took a deep breath. "Open a channel," she instructed. "Let them hear our voices." A calm, musical tone filled the bridge. "We are humans of Earth. We seek friendship and knowledge. We are aware of our limitations, but we are willing to learn. If you choose to observe us, know that we act with courage, not recklessness." The Elythrians listened. They were accustomed to arrogant species demanding assistance, claiming superiority, or begging for technology. This was different. Humans were honest, almost blunt in their appeal. There was no pretense, no arrogance, no empty threat. Just a simple truth. We are small, we are fragile, but we exist. Valisir felt an unfamiliar stir of emotion. It was not fear nor admiration as they usually felt for successful species. It was something subtler. "A quiet respect. They have courage," he said softly, "and they do not hide their flaws. This is unusual." For days, the humans and Elythrians maintained a cautious distance. Elena's crew worked tirelessly, documenting everything they observed. They studied the Elythrians' movements, their communication patterns, and their social interactions. At the same time, the Elythrians observed human behavior. They watched humans laugh under stress, argue over decisions yet still collaborate, and show care for one another even when the situation seemed hopeless. One evening, Elena stood in the observation deck, staring at the Elythrian vessels gliding silently through the void. "They may be ancient," she said to herself, "but they are curious. And curiosity can be an ally." Back on the Elythrian flagship, Valisir convened his council. "They are not remarkable in strength or speed. Their weapons are basic. Their shields are fragile. By every logical measure, they should fail. And yet, they persist." A young council member tilted her head. Perhaps it is not their strength we should measure, but their choice. They choose to act despite knowing their limitations. That is rare among all species we have observed. Valiser nodded. Yes, and that choice is beautiful. Perhaps we have underestimated them. Perhaps we have misunderstood them. Then came the test. Humans detected a minor cosmic anomaly nearby, a small unstable asteroid field threatening to collapse onto a human mining colony. It was too risky for standard protocols. Most species would have retreated, left the colony to its fate. But not humans. Elena made the decision instantly. We go, prepare the navigation teams. We will chart a safe path or die trying. Her crew hesitated. The risk was enormous. But hesitation gave way to trust, and trust gave way to action. They worked together, combining instinct with calculation. Every sensor reading, every navigational adjustment was a testament to their resilience. The Elythrians observed quietly. Valiser's eyes shimmered with a light that suggested surprise. They risk themselves, he whispered. Not for glory, not for gain, not for survival alone. They risk themselves because it is right. Hours later, the humans succeeded. The asteroid field stabilized. The colony remained intact, and the human team returned with minor injuries but immense pride. They had achieved what logic said was impossible. Valiser felt a weight on his mind he had not experienced in centuries. He had expected pity, perhaps even amusement at these fragile beings. Instead, he felt admiration and a strange sense of obligation. These humans, so small, so temporary in the cosmic scale, had shown him something the Elythrians had long forgotten: the beauty of courage in the face of overwhelming odds. Back on Earth, news of the first contact spread quietly among scientists and politicians. The humans knew little of the internal change occurring among the Elythrians, only that they had made the first step in a relationship that might alter the course of history. Elena, standing again on the observation deck, whispered, "We are fragile. We are small. But we are humans. And perhaps that is enough." The Elythrians, watching silently, began to see the humans in a new light. They had come expecting weakness. Instead, they found determination, honesty, and bravery. For the first time in millennia, they wondered if perhaps the humans were not the ones who would need pity, but those who would teach them a lesson about life, courage, and choice. And thus began the first chapter of an unprecedented story, a story of a fragile species daring to stand tall among immortals, unaware that their actions would soon echo across the galaxy. The galaxy, vast and indifferent, rarely paused for anyone's struggles. Humanity had survived countless challenges, but no one could have predicted the threat approaching their colonies. Far beyond the Sol system, a massive cosmic storm surged through space. Its energy was unlike anything the humans had ever encountered. Waves of radiation threatened to strip planets of their atmosphere, and asteroids began shifting unpredictably under its influence. On the Aurora's dawn, Captain Elena Ward stood at the bridge, staring at the swirling clouds of cosmic energy on the star charts. "Sensors show the storm is moving toward our colonies at high velocity. If we don't act fast, entire mining stations could be destroyed," she said, her voice calm but firm. Lieutenant Rami's hands flew across the console. "We can't outrun it, Captain. Our engines can't handle that velocity, and the storm's gravity is unstable. Any miscalculation could tear the ship apart." Elena nodded, thinking quickly. "Then we find another way. Plot a course to intercept the storm where it is weakest. We may be able to stabilize it long enough to protect the colonies." Meanwhile, the Elythrians continued their silent observation. Valiser watched the human crew's preparations. The Elythrians had observed many species facing danger, but most either panicked or abandoned their doomed worlds. Humans did neither. "They are fragile," Valiser murmured to the council. "Yet they act with clarity and focus. They do not succumb to fear. Fascinating." The humans deployed small, specialized ships ahead of the storm. Engineers, scientists, and pilots worked tirelessly to create temporary shields, manipulate gravitational fields, and redirect energy flows. Every decision was critical. Failure meant not only the loss of the colonies but also the death of hundreds of lives. On one of the smaller ships, young engineer Mara Venn adjusted the stabilizing equipment. Sweat glistened on her forehead as she whispered, "Come on, Hold together. Just a little longer. The equipment crackled, overloaded, and nearly failed, but she held her nerve. By combining her intuition with precise calculations, she managed to stabilize the first section of the storm. Back on the Aurora's dawn, Elena monitored the progress. She spoke over the comm system. "Excellent work, Mara. Keep it steady. Every second counts." Her voice carried calm authority, inspiring her crew to keep pushing forward despite exhaustion and fear. The Elythrians noticed every detail. They saw Mara's determination, the pilot's courage, and the leader's strategic thinking. For the first time, they realized that human courage was not reckless. It was deliberate. It was choice. Another human ship was sent closer to the storm's center, tasked with redirecting a group of massive asteroids that threatened a nearby colony. The crew aboard this vessel faced impossible odds. Radiation levels were rising, sensors were failing, and communication with the main ship was intermittent. Yet they continued. Navigator Jalen Rowe, scanning the asteroid field, muttered, "We can do this. We have to do this." He adjusted the thrusters, weaving through deadly debris. Every maneuver required split-second decisions and perfect coordination. A single error could destroy the ship. On the Elythrian observation platform, Valisor felt something unusual stirring within him. They had witnessed many species face challenges, but humans seemed to thrive on adversity. Their determination, their willingness to act despite being fragile, left a mark on him. "They are fragile, yet they dare," he said. "And they inspire? Even us." The humans' efforts were not without cost. Small ships sustained damage, shields failed, and a few crew members suffered injuries. Yet none faltered in their mission. Each human acted not out of blind bravery, but out of responsibility and care for others. Elena coordinated the operation from the bridge of the Aurora's dawn. She directed rescue teams, gave precise commands, and constantly recalculated risk. Her crew trusted her completely, knowing that every decision was made with both logic and heart. By the time the storm reached the outer colonies, the humans had done the impossible. The asteroids were redirected, the radiation dampened, and temporary shields held firm. The colonies were safe, for now. Exhausted but triumphant, the human teams regrouped. The Elythrians, however, were profoundly affected. They had expected to see chaos, panic, and failure. What they witnessed instead was bravery, ingenuity, and unwavering determination. Valisor turned to his council. "They are fragile," he said, his voice heavy with thought. "Yet they act as if their choices matter. They risk everything for others. It is remarkable." One of the younger Elythrians tilted her head. "We observed them before, but never like this. Their courage is not loud or showy. It is quiet, steady, and persistent. I do not understand it fully, but I admire it." Valisor nodded slowly. "Admiration is correct, and perhaps it is more than that. We feel drawn to them. Not pity, as we once thought, but something else. Respect, perhaps, or even hope." Back on Earth, news of the operation spread quickly. Scientists and leaders marveled at the ingenuity displayed by the human crews. They had faced a threat that could have destroyed entire colonies and survived. Yet the humans themselves remained humble. They did not boast nor claim victory. They simply returned to their work, preparing for the next challenge. Elena walked through the engineering deck, checking on her teams. She smiled at Mara Venn, who was carefully repairing a damaged stabilizer. "You did well," Elena said softly. "Every choice you made mattered. Every second counted. You saved lives today." Mara blushed but replied with quiet pride. "We all did it together. I only did what needed to be done." It was this unity, this willingness to act for the good of others, that impressed the Elythrians most. They realized that human strength was not in technology or numbers, but in spirit. In the face of impossible odds, humans acted with courage, care, and determination. Valisor recorded his observations in the Elythrian archives. They are fragile, yet they persist. They are mortal, yet they inspire. In their choices, in their bravery, we see something we have long forgotten. The beauty of selfless action. We feel honored to witness it. As the cosmic storm finally passed, leaving the colonies intact, and the human crews weary but alive, Elena returned to the observation deck. She stared at the stars, the endless expanse of space, and whispered, "We are small, we are fragile, but we are human, and we can endure." Unseen by the humans, the Elythrians shared her sentiment. What began as distant curiosity and pity had transformed into something entirely new. Admiration. They had watched humans act with courage where logic said failure was inevitable. They had seen humans make choices that reflected not just survival, but morality, intelligence, and heart. The storm was over, but a greater test was already forming. Humans had proven their bravery, but the galaxy held challenges far beyond any storm. And yet, for the first time, the Elythrians began to consider something extraordinary. Perhaps humans were not merely survivors to be pitied, but a species capable of inspiring even the immortal. For now, the humans returned to their colonies, repairing what had been damaged, celebrating small victories, and quietly preparing for the unknown. The Elythrians, in their silent way, continued to watch, fascinated and changed. And thus, the first true test of humanity had ended, not with fear or defeat, but with courage, ingenuity, and heart. In the eyes of the galaxy's oldest and wisest beings, humanity had begun to shine, not as weaklings to be pitied, but as a species worthy of admiration, curiosity, and perhaps respect. The story of humanity's bravery was only beginning, and the Elythrians, who had once pitied them, could not ignore the truth any longer. These fragile mortal beings carried within them a spark that even immortals could not ignore. The human colonies were recovering. Starports were busy repairing ships, miners rebuilt stations, and scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the aftermath of the cosmic storm. Even as exhaustion lingered, humans quietly continued their work, not seeking praise, only survival and progress. Captain Elena Ward walked through one of the rebuilt stations, observing her crew. Her eyes met those of a young engineer, Mara Venn, still meticulously repairing a stabilizer. "You've done more than anyone could ask," Elena said softly. "Take a break." Mara shook her head, her eyes bright with determination. "Not until it's done. Someone has to make sure it's safe for everyone else." Elena smiled. Humanity's strength lay in moments like these, the quiet, selfless acts that often went unnoticed. They were not heroic in the sense of fame or glory. They were heroic because they were necessary. And the Elythrians were watching every detail. Valiser, the Elythrian observer, had begun to follow human stories more closely. He did not interfere. He simply watched. There was a fascination in human morality, the way they risked themselves for others without expectation. "They do not act for recognition," Valiser said. "Every decision is measured by the good it will bring. They inspire us more than we imagined." One human team faced a critical challenge. A mining station on the edge of a gas giant's orbit had been damaged by the storm. The station's life support systems were failing, and dozens of civilians were trapped inside. The ship sent to rescue them was small, fragile, and under-equipped. Lieutenant Rami coordinated the rescue. "We can't wait for reinforcements," he said. "We'll have to go in now. It's risky, but it's the only option." Elena nodded. "Then we go. We do what we have to do." The rescue team navigated through the wreckage, dodging debris and unstable structures. Every second counted. On board, engineer Mara Venn used her technical skills to reroute power to life support, working alongside other engineers who trusted her judgment implicitly. The Elythrians observed silently. Valiser felt a strange emotion stirring within him, something akin to pride. It was not his own courage being tested, but humanity's courage that impressed him. The humans faced almost certain danger, yet they acted with clarity, skill, and selflessness. Inside the station, one human worker, a young man named Theo, realized that a section of the structure was about to collapse. Without hesitation, he moved in, stabilizing the support beams with improvised tools. It was dangerous. He could have been crushed, but he stayed focused, prioritizing the safety of the trapped civilians over his own. Balisair's eyes widened slightly. Even now they choose to act. Their mortality does not frighten them, it sharpens them. By the time the team returned to their ship, all civilians were safe. Exhausted, bruised, and battered, they were greeted with quiet relief. No celebration, no boastful remarks. Just the satisfaction of having done what was right. The Elythrians, however, were profoundly affected. They began to record these small acts of heroism in detail, documenting each decision, each choice, each risk taken for the good of others. For the first time in millennia, Balisair felt that the humans were worthy of more than observation. They were worthy of remembrance. On another front, human scientists were racing against time to restore communications with distant colonies. Their systems had been damaged in the storm, and isolation threatened panic. Young scientist Leora Mace took charge, her fingers flying over her console as she rerouted signals, patched damaged relays, and calculated the fastest way to reconnect the colonies. Her work was precise, almost artistic. Every adjustment saved lives, every calculation restored hope. When communications were finally restored, the colonies erupted in quiet joy, sending thanks to the human teams. Leora's smile was modest. It was just what needed to be done, she said. The Elythrians observed this as well. Even their science is heroic, Balisair remarked. It is not about discovery or power. It is about care and the courage to act for others. Not all human acts were large-scale operations. Some were smaller, almost invisible. A mother tending to orphaned children in a damaged colony. A medic working through exhaustion to heal wounded civilians. A pilot risking her own safety to deliver critical supplies. Each act, though small, in isolation, combined to form a tapestry of courage and moral clarity that no other species had ever displayed before the Elythrians. Balisair began to see the pattern. Their heroism is not in strength or technology, he said. It is in choice, in every decision to act when the outcome is uncertain. That is the essence of their greatness. For humans, these moments were simply life. For the Elythrians, they were revelations. They had observed countless species over millennia, species with intelligence, power, and longevity, but none had consistently chosen selflessness and courage over survival or gain. Humanity did, every day. One evening, Elena walked the quiet corridors of her ship. She paused by the observation deck, looking at the distant stars. She did not know she was being watched by beings older than history, beings who had once thought humanity fragile and insignificant. They may be immortal, she whispered, but they do not understand the strength in being mortal. Every choice, every risk, every act of care, it matters. We are humans. That is enough. Balisair watched her from his distant observation station. For the first time, he felt a strange kinship. Fragile, yes, he murmured. But their courage, it illuminates the galaxy. We have never seen such determination. We wish to remember them. And so, the Elythrians began a quiet process. They documented every act of bravery, every selfless decision, every small victory. They did not intervene yet. They wanted to see humanity in its raw form, without the influence of immortal power. Humans continued their work, unaware of the attention they had drawn. Every repaired station, every saved life, every successful mission was a testament not to technology or luck, but to ingenuity, courage, and heart. When another small storm arose on the edge of a colony, humans were ready. Without hesitation, they acted, applying lessons learned, coordinating teams, and trusting each other. The storm passed with minimal damage. Once again, humanity prevailed not through sheer power, but through teamwork and determination. The Elythrians began to feel something they had not felt in ages: awe. It was subtle, almost like a glow in their consciousness, growing stronger with each human act of courage. Balisair realized that their initial pity had transformed into admiration, and admiration into something more profound. Humans had earned their attention, and perhaps even their respect. Elena stood on the observation deck one last time that day, watching the stars. "We are small," she whispered, "but we are not weak. We act. We care. And that is our strength." Far away, Valiser nodded to himself. "Fragile," he said softly, "yet brilliant. We once pitied them. Now we are learning from them. Perhaps they are not the ones who need saving. Perhaps we are the ones who are changed." And so the humans continued their quiet heroism. Each act, no matter how small, was a testament to their spirit. Each life saved, each decision made. Under pressure, each risk taken without hesitation reinforced a truth the Elythrians could not ignore. Humanity was extraordinary, not because of power or technology or numbers, but because of heart, courage, and the relentless choice to act for others. The story of humanity was no longer just survival. It had become a story of inspiration, one that even immortals would carry with them. The calm after the storm was short-lived. Humanity's colonies were still fragile, and a new danger loomed on the horizon. This time, a threat so immense that even seasoned captains felt unease. A rogue fleet of automated warships, remnants of an ancient civilization, had activated in a nearby star system. Their mission: to secure territory, consume resources, and neutralize any species in their path. Humanity was not their primary target, but if ignored, the colonies could be obliterated. Captain Elena Ward gathered her senior officers on the Aurora's dawn. The bridge was tense, every crew member aware of the stakes. "We cannot match them ship for ship," Elena said calmly, "but we can outthink them. We will rely on speed, strategy, and ingenuity. We will protect our people." Lieutenant Rami leaned forward, fingers on the console. "Our best chance is to split them into smaller groups, isolate them, and use our environment, asteroid belts, gravitational fields, and energy anomalies to our advantage." Elena nodded. "Exactly. We will fight smarter, not stronger. Prepare all crews. Every ship, every station, every civilian group must be coordinated." Far away in their silent observation stations, the Elythrians watched with growing fascination. Valiser's thoughts were conflicted. They had come expecting fragile beings who might survive by chance or by their pity. Instead, the humans were planning strategy, displaying courage and leadership beyond their physical capabilities. "They do not fear the impossible," Valiser whispered. "They do not yield to odds. They act with clarity and purpose. We are inspired by them." The first engagement came quickly. Automated warships moved through an asteroid belt, attempting to trap human supply convoys. Elena's team used the terrain to their advantage, drawing the warships into a maze of gravitational fields. The human smaller ships, more maneuverable than the massive war machines, darted in and out, disabling systems and creating confusion. In the heat of the battle, young pilot Kara Joss made a daring maneuver. A warship had locked on to a civilian transport. Without hesitation, Kara flew directly into the enemy's targeting zone, executing a precise sequence of evasive moves that drew the warship off course. The transport reached safety. On the observation platform, Valiser and his council watched in awe. "A mortal risked themselves to save others," Valiser said. "Yet they do not hesitate. They act with courage and without self-interest." Elsewhere, human engineers used the debris from destroyed warships to construct temporary shields, redirecting energy to protect key colonies. Every calculation, every adjustment carried immense risk, but failure was not an option. Each human acted as if every decision, no matter how small, could tip the balance between survival and annihilation. Lieutenant Rami coordinated multiple teams across the system. "We are stretched thin," he reported to Elena, "but if we maintain focus and trust each other, we can turn this around." Elena smiled, not from relief, but from pride. "We are human," she said softly. "Focus is our strength and courage is our weapon. Trust in each other. That will carry us further than any technology." The Elythrians recorded each maneuver, each act of bravery. For the first time, they realized that human heroism was not just about survival. It was about inspiring others, including beings who had long considered themselves above emotion or mortality. A human boarding team, led by Captain Elena herself, took a daring risk. They infiltrated a disabled warship to disable its command core, knowing they might not survive. Every step was calculated, yet every action carried the weight of potential loss. Crew members communicated in concise, confident commands, trusting instincts honed through countless trials. As the team reached the core, a sudden malfunction threatened their mission. A human engineer, Mara Ven, stepped forward. Using improvised tools, she managed to stabilize the system just long enough for the team to complete their objective. Their success was precise, efficient, and heroic, but it was also quiet. There was no fanfare, only the satisfaction of a mission accomplished for the good of others. Balliser felt a stirring of emotion he had not felt in centuries. "They do not seek glory," he said. "They do not act for recognition. Every choice is measured by what is right. They inspire even us." The humans' victory was not total, but it was meaningful. Automated warships were neutralized. Colonies remained intact, and human teams had demonstrated ingenuity, bravery, and unity beyond expectation. They had turned a desperate situation into a triumph of the spirit. Back on the Aurora's dawn, Elena addressed her crew. "We did not fight for recognition. We did not fight because it was easy. We fought because it was right. Every life saved, every act of courage. That is our legacy." The Elythrians, silent and immortal, reflected on the truth of her words. Felicia recorded in the archives, "We pitied them once. We now witness beings who act without fear, who choose courage over comfort, who inspire even immortals. Their mortality sharpens their spirit. Their choices define greatness. We are changed by what we see." As the system settled into calm once more, humans returned to their duties, quietly repairing stations, helping civilians, and preparing for the next challenge. They did not seek recognition. They did not boast. They acted because it was the right thing to do, because their choices mattered, and because humanity had a spirit that could not be measured in weapons or technology. The Elythrians continued their silent observation. They had expected fragility and weakness. Instead, they had found brilliance, courage, and an unyielding will to act rightly. For the first time in millennia, immortals felt something akin to hope, not for themselves, but for what a species could achieve through choice, heart, and courage. Balliser watched the humans across the void, thinking quietly. They risk themselves, knowing they may die, yet they act without hesitation. They care for each other. They inspire even us. Perhaps they are not the ones in need of guidance, but those who will guide even the immortal. The stars shone above, indifferent and eternal. But below, humanity continued to shine, brilliant not in firepower, not in technology, but in spirit, courage, and heart. And in that brilliance, the Elythrians found themselves immortalized, not in strength, but in admiration, inspiration, and the profound understanding of what it meant to act courageously against impossible odds. Elena stood on the observation deck, gazing at the vast, infinite darkness. She whispered to herself, "We are fragile. We are small, but we are human. And our courage is endless." And far away, Balliser echoed her sentiment in his own way. "Fragile, yes," he said softly. "But their courage and heart illuminate the galaxy. They were once pitied. Now they are immortalized in our memory, their actions inspiring even the timeless." The humans had faced the impossible and prevailed, not through technology alone, nor strength alone, but through ingenuity, bravery, and heart. They had become a beacon, not only for their own species, but for the beings who had once looked upon them with pity. The turning point was clear. Humanity was no longer a fragile race in the eyes of the galaxy. They were a species whose choices, courage, and morality could inspire even the oldest, wisest, and most immortal beings, and in that moment, both humans and Elythrians understood something profound. True greatness was not measured in lifespans or weapons, but in the courage to act rightly, even in the face of impossible odds. The galaxy had begun to notice humanity, not through conquest nor through the power of their fleets, but through courage, ingenuity, and heart. Across distant star systems, the Elythrians quietly recorded every story of human heroism, every act of selflessness, and every choice that had defied expectation. What had begun as pity had transformed into profound admiration. Captain Elena Ward stood on the observation deck of the Aurora's dawn, gazing at the stars. The remnants of the rogue warships had been neutralized, and the colonies were stable. Yet she knew that humanity's journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and sometimes dangerous. But she also knew something else. Humans were ready, not just to survive, but to inspire. Far from human eyes, the Elythrians gathered in their central archives. Valisir, ancient and wise, moved among the records of countless species, yet his attention lingered on humanity. Every event, every decision, and every act of courage was meticulously documented. The humans had proven themselves worthy of remembrance, not as fragile mortals, but as a species whose heart and spirit could inspire even the immortal. They have done more than survive, Valisir said softly to his council. They have acted with purpose, with clarity, and with courage. And in doing so, they have immortalized us in their story. A younger Elythrian tilted her head. How can mortals influence the immortal? Valisir considered this. Because their choices matter. Because their courage is contagious. Because even we, who have seen millennia, are inspired by the bravery of those who may exist for only a fraction of our time. Back on Earth, and across human colonies, life continued. Humans repaired what was broken, celebrated small victories, and quietly helped one another. They were not aware that every act they had undertaken had been watched, recorded, and immortalized by beings who had once pitied them. Yet even without recognition, humanity continued to shine. In one colony on the icy moon of Tethys, Mara Ven worked tirelessly in the engineering bay, repairing life support systems that had been damaged by the storms. She moved with quiet determination, focused entirely on the task at hand. She had no thought of fame or recognition. She only wanted to protect the lives depending on her. In another colony, young pilot Kara Joss shared a meal with her crew after a long mission. Their laughter and camaraderie filled the room, a reminder that humanity thrived not only through skill and courage, but through connection and care. The Elythrians recorded it all. They documented the quiet heroism, the teamwork, and the moments of moral clarity that defined humanity. Every act was a testament to the human spirit, resilient, moral, and fearless in the face of overwhelming odds. Valisir reflected on the journey they had witnessed. We pitied them once, he said, because we could not understand the strength in mortality. We could not comprehend how courage could flourish in such fragility. And yet, they have proven that even the smallest, most temporary life can shine brighter than we ever imagined. Then came the moment of acknowledgement. The Elythrians, who had long remained distant observers, chose to reveal themselves, not to save humanity, but to honor it. A delegation arrived at a central human colony. Their vessels descended silently, luminous and elegant, unlike any human craft. Elena Ward and her officers were the first to meet them. The Elythrians did not bring technology or weapons. They brought something far rarer: recognition, respect, and a promise of remembrance. Valisir spoke, his voice soft yet commanding. Humans of Earth and all colonies of your species, we have watched you. We came expecting fragility, but we found courage. We came expecting weakness, but we found brilliance. We pitied you once, and in doing so, we discovered the immortal spark of your spirit. Your acts, your choices, and your courage will be remembered in our archives for all time. The humans were silent, absorbing the weight of the moment. This was not charity, not condescension. It was acknowledgement of the extraordinary. Elena stepped forward. We did not act for recognition, she said. We did what was necessary. We helped each other because it was the right thing to do. If our actions inspire others, that is a reward beyond any technology or title. Valisir nodded. Indeed, but even immortals are inspired by what they witness. You have taught us that courage is not measured in lifespans or power, but in the choices one makes. You have immortalized us as we now immortalize you. The Elythrians then presented their record, a magnificent compilation of human history, heroism, and moral courage preserved in a form that would endure across eons. It was not a monument of stone or metal, but of memory, understanding, and recognition. Every brave act, every moment of selflessness, every daring decision was captured, celebrated, and enshrined. Mara, Kara, and countless others had their deeds quietly immortalized, their names recorded in the Elythrian archives. Their courage, once ordinary and unnoticed in their own eyes, now shone across the galaxy. Elena watched as the Elythrians completed the ceremony, a strange warmth spreading in her chest. It was not pride in the human sense, for humans rarely sought glory. It was a recognition of connection, of shared values, and of the enduring power of choice. Valisir spoke once more. We will carry your story wherever we travel. You are a reminder that even the smallest, most mortal species can inspire immortals. You are proof that courage, morality, and heart endure beyond time itself. You are immortal in spirit. The Elythrians departed as silently as they had arrived, leaving humanity with no technology, no gifts, no demands. What they left was far greater. The knowledge that the immortal had recognized the human spirit, and that humanity's actions mattered on a cosmic scale. For humans, life continued. Colonies rebuilt, new challenges arose, and the galaxy remained vast and uncertain. Yet humanity's story had changed. They were no longer simply survivors, they were a beacon. Elena returned to the observation deck, looking at the stars. We are fragile, she whispered, and we are mortal. But we act, we care. We choose courage over fear. That is our immortality. Far away, Valisir reflected on the same stars. We pitied them once, and in their courage we found something eternal. Their acts will echo across the cosmos, inspiring all who witness them. They have immortalized themselves, and in doing so they have immortalized us. Across the galaxy, humanity continued to live, work, and struggle, unaware of the lasting impression they had made. Every act of courage, every selfless choice, and every moment of moral clarity had become part of a greater story, a story of a fragile species whose heart and spirit could inspire even the immortal. And so, humanity was immortalized not through power, wealth, or conquest, but through courage, ingenuity, heart, and choice. They had faced impossible odds, acted with selflessness, and proven that mortality did not diminish greatness. The Elythrians, once distant and aloof, now carried humanity's story in their hearts, archives, and memories. A species they had pitied had taught them a lesson. True immortality was not in lifespan or power, but in the courage to act rightly, the heart to care, and the wisdom to choose what is good. And in that understanding, the galaxy had witnessed something rare and extraordinary. Humans, fragile and mortal, immortal in spirit, shining brighter than even the stars themselves.